Do you remember that moment when TikTok was supposedly getting banned? The world was in, absolute chaos. Oh no, I'm losing my brain rot app that absolutely ruined my attention span. And there were loads of theories and questions. What's going on here? How did this happen? Now, why is TikTok just suddenly no longer getting banned? Well, my friends, I've come to a conclusive opinion. I've been doing research and I have got the explanation to what actually happened in the supposed unbanning or not banning of TikTok. And that is, we made a deal with the devil. You see, the devil came to us and he said, you know what, mate, I'll help you out. I know you like your little brain rot app. I know you can't go 5 minutes without watching a world of t-shirts TikTok. And I'm going to allow you to continue to have this app. I'll sort it out. Don't worry. But it's the devil, There's never going to be a simple answer. And whatever religion or mythology we're speaking about here, in terms of the social media devil, there's always going to be a little bit of small print to this deal. And the social media devil said, if you keep TikTok, then you must also take one of my social media demons, and you must make that demon the most famous person on TikTok. And look, I'm afraid to say, well, that deal has definitely taken place, and it has definitely been implemented to the highest possible level, because Ashley Trevino is just everywhere. I can't open this app without seeing this woman. I don't know why. She's just there, and it is just terrifying. The moment I open TikTok, oh no, it's Ashley Trevino once again. And yes, this is my 4th video speaking about Ashley, and it looks like I've converted to alcoholism just out of the pure stress of covering this woman. I can confirm this is indeed kombucha. I am basically a millennial at this point, but although that's kind of mean to anyone that does drink kombucha that isn't a millennial, whatever culture kombucha I'm going to shut up. But yes, Ashley Trevino, she hasn't stopped since my last video on her. This is episode number 4, and there are so many things that we need to go through today. And yes, you basically could say that Ashley Trevino is the co-host of the iNabber YouTube channel. Please comment hi Ashley down below, like the video, and most importantly, please subscribe. Now, in the last episode of Ashley Trevino Watch, she went on a podcast which garnered millions upon millions of views, and yes, there was a reason for that. Pretty much, on this podcast, she'd exposed herself for, well, just like everything. There's so many things that this woman exposed herself for. I covered it in this video, but the main point of interest with this episode was that yes, Ashley was with her children on this podcast, and Ashley admitted to pretty much being a millionaire whilst also not actually providing beds to her children. Actual real thing that she is still doing to this day, by the way. And also she went into a lot of other controversies, such as her relationship. She is 36 and she was at least dating or in a relationship with a 19-year-old called Santos. And just in general, there were a lot of things that came out of this podcast which had the general audience thinking, what is going on social media? Was the deal with the devil really worth it? I mean, imagine explaining to your co-worker, your peers, about who Ashley Trevino is and what she does and why she's a famous millionaire. I mean, I'm a 28-year-old man. I come from the era of where the Kardashians were at their peak of their fame. Paris Hilton was everywhere. Basically, a lot of people who, don't exactly have talent were very famous and rich. Some of them became billionaires, and it was in an era where you're wondering, how are these people famous? But now we're in another era where even more people are getting famous, and I'm just like, what's going on? What's going on? But you may be wondering why we've gathered today. Well, basically, Ashley Trevino has only gotten worse. Yes, you can basically take every other commentary YouTuber's title out of the books. The Ashley Trevino situation has gotten stinky. Things are getting worse and worse. Ashley Trevino, she just got exposed. And actually, she did. Ashley Trevino was recently exposed this week by her previous 19-year-old lover, Santos, who recently went on the exact same podcast that Ashley went on, and he spoke about his relationship with Ashley, but also tons of other situations have transpired after this, just creating pretty much a complete week of absolute chaos for Ashley Trevino, even leaning into certain conspiracy theories surrounding her. And in this video, what I want to do is basically seek the truth behind Ashley Trevino. Is this all real? Is this expose a big facade? Is Ashley Trevino even a real person? We're going to get into all of it today. But before we dive into any of that, I just want to talk to you about today's sponsor, Aura. Have you ever Googled yourself, a friend or a family member, only to then find an alarming amount of personal information readily available online? It's a pretty terrifying thing where, yeah, you just stumbled across information that even you didn't know existed publicly on the internet for anyone to access. Things like phone numbers, past addresses, or even your social security number, it's pretty unsettling to realize that this sort of thing can just be accessed by anyone, and that's where Aura comes into things. You see, Aura is an all-in-one digital security solution that helps protect your personal information. Their powerful data broker opt-out tool removes your data from people's search sites and data brokers from accessing your personal information and selling it on to scammers, identity thieves, and even worse individuals. But the thing is this whole Aura deal, it doesn't end there. Because you see, Aura also offers identity theft protection by monitoring your personal data, like your social security number, across billions of data points on the internet, including the dark web and public records. And if anything suspicious comes up, you will get an alert right away. But my friends, the deal does not end there, because with up to 5 people on one account, you get up to $1 million in identity theft insurance, which totals up to $5 million in coverage to help with eligible losses and fees in a worst case scenario. But somehow there's even more, because Aura also includes a VPN, antivirus protection, a password manager, and 24/7 US-based customer support, all bundled in to one big package. I'm not leaving myself or my family exposed to data breaches, and you shouldn't either. Head to aura.com/iNabber to try Aura for 2 weeks, and that's plenty of time to see if any of your personal data has been compromised. Stay safe online with Aura. But with that, let's get back into the actual video, and that leads us back to the podcast that Santos recently went on, and he spoke about his relationship with Ashley, exposed a lot of the private details, went into a lot of controversies that surrounded them. In particular, one of the situations that Ashley and Santos both exposed each other for, which we spoke about in a previous video, was very serious allegations that they made against each other, where Ashley and Santos both accused each other of SA. It was a very, very confusing and yet serious thing, because these are not allegations to throw around lightly. Yet Ashley and Santos, after they accused each other of these things, jumped onto live streams laughing about it, and it was a very, very, very weird time. And on this podcast, Santos basically exposes everything. But it doesn't just end there, because there are situations involving Ashley's daughter, a back and forth between Camila, the podcast host, and Ashley Trevino, and there was a lie detector thing that Ashley went on where she, as it says, she answered some questions and she was proved if she was lying or not. And just in general, this week it's just been such a messy week. I feel like I could do an Ashley Trevino update video every single day, but the main thing I want to go through today is, of course, the Ashley Trevino expose, which comes from Santos Exposes the Truth About Ashley Trevino for podcast. And yes, this is a very dramatic podcast where, as I said, Santos and Camila, they go through a lot of details to do with this relationship that Santos and Ashley previously had, and it led to a lot of things that I don't think the general public really knew about up until this point, and honestly, it only really makes Ashley look even worse if that was actually possible. But the thing is there is a bit of a backstory to why and how Santos even got onto this podcast, and that starts off with the beef that I previously mentioned between Camila and Ashley. Because yeah, they recorded this podcast, and a big thing to note that a lot of people took from it was that Camila clearly was not a fan of Ashley. If you've watched the episode, you'll know what I'm talking about, or if you've watched my video, which you should do, but if you've watched any of those two, you will have noticed that Camila was basically taking shots at Ashley at every single opportunity. It very much did just kind of seem that Camila was just outright disgusted at the very existence of Ashley Trevino's TikTok whole era, profile, whatever you want to call her. Just in general, she was not a fan of Ashley Trevino, and that led to a lot of debates happening after that podcast. Because yeah, after getting a lot of backlash because of the podcast, Ashley, of course, jumped onto a live stream stating that she regrets going on Camila's podcast. And yeah, let's take a look at what she actually has to say.
And no, I didn't make no money off of the podcast, okay? So that answers y'all's question, okay?
Now, a big point of contention with this whole podcast between Camila and Ashley has actually been the issue of payments. Because yes, Ashley, as you just saw, not complained, but she remarked over the fact that yes, she was not paid for going onto that podcast. And this very much has become a big talking point since the podcast came out. Why was Ashley not paid? Should she have received some form of payment, or I don't know, a little bit of money here and there for just being on the podcast that got millions of views? Now, I'm somebody that has been on podcasts. I don't mean to brag. Million subs at all. No, but I've been on a few podcasts in my time. We're not going to speak about this one. If any of you remember it, we're not doing that. But I've been on a podcast and I know how they work. And the big thing is you don't get paid. Just like most YouTube collaborations. I've collaborated occasionally here and there with friends in the past, and you don't get paid because the payment basically comes in exposure. Ashley just went on a podcast which got 10 million views. That is unbelievably more valuable than getting any form of financial payment whatsoever, because pretty much the main source of financial revenue, the main source of income when you are an influencer, is exposure. Because at the end of the day, the more exposure you get, the more dollars in the bank comes in over time. And if you're getting more and more popular, your exposure isn't going down and down and down. You're just going to make more and more money. So I don't really understand why this became a point of contention. But either way, let's continue.
I didn't make no money from the podcast. And also, she hasn't ordered the girls' stuff yet, so.
Now, I do just want to quickly pause here and say we will wrap back to that conversation surrounding Camila's promise to buy the children beds. But firstly, I do just want to quickly say, isn't it pathetic that the millionaire is complaining that the other millionaire hasn't bought their own children beds? Ashley, you're a 36-year-old mother of a 14-year-old child. You should be providing the beds to your kids. It should have been provided before the podcast.
Do you have beds?
Well, I don't live with my mom.
But at your mom's house?
No.
It's not up to Camila to pay for your kids' living standards. Every child should be entitled to a nice, comfortable bed. And I understand, there's some horrors in this world. Not every child can have a bed. But Ashley, you're a multi-millionaire TikTok star. You can afford to get a bed. You could probably reach out to any bed company in the world and be like, oh, can I have a free mattress? And they would say yes, because you're a multi-millionaire TikToker. But no, she's refusing to get them a bed because someone else promised to do it, someone they've met once. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to say other than you are just such a weirdo. Like honestly, she is so weird. Just buy your kids a bed. It's such a simple thing. Don't turn this into some TikTok drama. This is like basic human rights, and you still haven't provided them.
Do I think she was fair to me? In reality, no. But like I said, it is what it is, Camila is a young girl too. She's literally younger than Max, I believe. So I think she's like 22. So again, it wasn't somebody older that was doing the interview.
I love that she's like, oh yeah, she's a young girl. She's 22, kind of being condescending with this. You dated a 19-year-old. I don't get this. Again, you're just weird.
So she is younger and she doesn't have kids, so she doesn't know how it is. She even said in the podcast she don't remember what it is to be 16.
I'm sorry to say, but you don't need to have children to understand that a child should have a bed. And you know why? Because we've all been a child. I've been a 14-year-old, I've been a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. And having a bed is a basic, essential requirement. You are a millionaire. Please, for the love of God, stop making excuses. You are so weird. but it only continues.
But again, they do stuff for the views. You got to remember that. She's an influencer. She does stuff for the views because she gets paid off of the views. So
Ashley Trevino using the criticism of they do stuff for the views is one of the most hilarious hypocritical things I think I've ever witnessed. Ashley, your entire career is based off the drama of you, a 36-year-old woman, dating a 19-year-old. And the other points of your fame comes from you going to other states and hanging out with a bunch of 19 and 18-year-old and even some 17-year-old TikTokers. This is what you are known for. Drama. Stop acting like you're known for anything other than drama. It's not even, like, at the end of the day, like, if you are a figure known for being in drama constantly and there isn't really any moralistic issues, I don't care. You know, I'm not going to sit on my high horse and act like I'm doing anything like more significant than speaking about drama right now. But at the end of the day, I don't know what you think you are. You're an influencer known for your dramatic live streams where you beg for money. That's literally it. And I know it sounds brutal, but that is just the reality of the situation here. And of course, after this, Camila decided to get on her TikTok page and she started to call out Ashley for a bunch of things, stating that pretty much she had paid for the best possible accommodation for Ashley to have, and just in general, Ashley had everything that she could have wanted during the whole podcast experience. And we're just going to take a look at that TikTok as well.
She said that she regrets doing it. What did you think I was going to ask you about? You think I'm going to sit there and be like, let's just be besties? Like, no, girl. Like, she said, she was like, oh, like, if I knew the podcast was going to be yada, 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 I would have asked her for payment. I paid for first class tickets. I paid for her to stay at the Ritz-Carlton. And not to mention, she messaged me and was like, hey, do you mind if I extend my flight to stay longer? No, I don't mind, because I could extend the flight for free.
Now, bearing in mind, Camila did not need to do any of these things. I've gone onto podcasts and other people's videos where I pay for my own accommodation, I pay for my own travel. These are things that I don't even think Camila needed to do, because at the end of the day, her podcast with Ashley Trevino was transactional on both sides. Ashley knew what she was getting, Camila knew what she was getting. Camila was going to get a 10 million view podcast, and Ashley was going to get a monumental amount of exposure. TikToks would be made about it. People like me would talk about it. More stuff would just come out after it. And overall, it would contribute to Ashley Trevino getting more and more popular. I know it's controversial to say you're going to be paid in exposure, but I think this is like one of those rare moments of where it actually does make sense. And I don't think Camila has done anything wrong here. But even then, what's hilarious is Ashley had the gall to complain about not being paid, despite basically financially taking advantage of the situation that she's in.
She extended the flight to wherever, I don't know when the hell she stayed till, and then automatically calls the front desk to the Ritz-Carlton and just books an extra night, books an extra 2 nights. I don't even know how many nights she stayed, and then texts me to pay for it. Babe, you literally sat on my podcast talking about you have some budget, your kids don't have beds, and you were asking me to pay for an extra night. What happened to budget? What happened to you having security? What happened to all that? Babe, you want to flex, you're rich, pay for your night at the Ritz-Carlton. I thought I was in my opinion, I thought I was very respectful.
Now, yeah, that pretty much is the ending of the TikTok, and ultimately, I do agree with what she's saying here. Whilst I think she was visibly disgusted in a lot of the points of her podcast with Ashley Trevino, overall, in terms of the flow of conversation, I believe that Camila was respectful. It's not like she said anything belittling towards Ashley. She called her out on some things, sure, but at the end of the day, what were you expecting? And this is what I'm really confused about in this confrontation with Ashley and Camila. What did Ashley actually expect from this podcast? You're going on a podcast with an influencer who has a podcast which specifically is about influencers, the space, and drama. What did you expect? You are a YouTuber or TikToker who is known for drama. I really don't get what you thought it was going to be, especially considering you brought your children onto this podcast as well. Your children, who are a massive topic of conversation, considering the amount of CPS visits that you've had. But also, whilst editing this, I did just want to quickly interject and state that there was something that I didn't realize about where the original podcast was actually filmed. Now, what what you can see here on screen right now is a group of influencers who have got together and have started a group page on TikTok called the Bop House. Now, pretty much all of these influencers come from a certain adult website. That's where they make most of their income, and that's where they get most of their I can't speak English. Notoriety, popularity from. Pretty much, they are all adult content creators, and a lot of criticism has been driven towards Ashley for even allowing her young daughters to be at this Bop House place. And honestly, I can understand that criticism completely. I think it's very valid, especially considering the fact that Ashley loves to position herself as the caring, loving mother, yet she is allowing her daughters to go into a house specifically driven around adult content. Now, I'm not saying any of the people in this group have done anything necessarily wrong, but I feel like it's up to the parent to make the morally conscious decision to not let their 14-year-old and other child who's younger than that go into this house and make TikToks with them dancing and stuff like that. I just don't necessarily think this is appropriate. Call me old-fashioned, but realistically, I think this is really weird and probably should be called out. But yeah, sorry, back to regular service. But then after this, the drama did not end because Ashley came out with yet again another statement speaking out against Camila, and things were just getting more heated.
That was my card that I used. This is for the stuff that Evie got from the room, okay? This was the first 2 nights. So the first 2 nights, they took out $28.79.22. Then the second night, they took out $1,200 plus the $182.11. That was my card. I have the actual thing, okay? This is my card. I have the receipt too. So in order for me to do credit card fraud on somebody, you actually have to have the credit card info, okay? That's my bank account. I have a bank account. I don't have no lawsuits or nothing against me, so I can have a bank account. It was approved by Camila. So she actually Zelled me the money for all 3 of the nights.
Now, this gets into a bit of subplot of drama to do with Ashley and the payments of where she basically, bought some things whilst at the hotel. Some people were accusing her of credit card fraud and stuff like that. I don't want to go into that. But at the end of the day, what she admits there is Camila did pay for Ashley to stay at this hotel for 3 days. A very expensive, luxurious hotel in a pretty luxurious place where people want to go and stay. So I imagine that was a lot of money. And yet she's still on TikTok complaining. But to be honest, the main thing that I personally really care about in this situation is the issue with the beds. Because yeah, there are 2 children that still do not have beds despite having a millionaire parent. And I really want to know what actually is the truth in this situation. Did Camila not buy a bed for Ashley's kids? Did Ashley not buy a bed for her kids? I mean, we know the answer for that one. But on the Camila side of things, whilst it would not really be the end of the world if she didn't buy a bed for the kids, she did state that she would. And, I guess we need to somewhat get to the bottom of the truth with this.
This is me sending Trevino a text message. I was like, hey, don't forget to send me what the kids want for their beds. And she said, after what I said, I don't know if it's okay. So because after what you went online and you ruined it for your kids, I can't buy them a bed because you won't do it? You're sick. Something's wrong with you. She then goes on to talk about some sort of credit card fraud. And when she went to send me the video, sends me a screenshot of the video as if I can click on it and look at it, first of all. And second of all, what does credit card fraud have to do with me getting your kids beds? Another thing she said was that I got paid $60,000 off of the podcast.
I got paid $60,000? Somebody actually told me that.
Okay, first of all, who told you that? Because that's crazy. I made way more.
Man, I get really confused by influencers. How are they making $60,000 from one pot? What am I doing wrong? But yeah, this is pretty much clear evidence that she actually did try to buy these beds for Ashley's kids. And overall, it did just kind of look like, once again, shock horror, Ashley was lying to everybody. And you know, if there's one thing that I particularly find frustrating in this situation is that Ashley, in every single possible example, just makes herself out to be the worst individual there is right now in the influencer space. Because take the person who I'm speaking about here, Camila. It kind of comes off like I'm eternally glazing this person right now, and I promise you, that is not my intentions. Camila is actually an influencer that has received widespread criticism due to her content that she has made with her brother, which is incredibly weird. Like, look at some of these captions. There's a lot of weird, odd things going on here. But the fact of the matter is Ashley somehow outdoes this content creator in just being absolutely fundamentally worse. Ashley, in every single situation, just outshines every other controversy that exists out there because she just makes herself out to be a supervillain at every possible angle. And Ashley did eventually respond, and honestly, her response is just as confusing as all of the other things that she said in the past.
Like right now, she did ask me, did your kids pick out the bed set? I said, I don't want you to buy it.
Then why are you going onto TikTok live streams previously complaining that she has not bought your children a bed? Maybe, rather than turning your children's living standards into TikTok drama, maybe go and buy them a bed. Maybe go buy a house where they can have separate rooms and lovely fun bedrooms. Because at the end of the day, whilst it is pretty funny to laugh at Ashley Trevino consistently, it is sad that at the very crux of this story, there are two children who are, in my opinion, completely and utterly mistreated and deserve so much unbelievably better. If there was one thing to take from the podcast of Ashley and Camila, it's that Ashley's kids deserve so much better. They seem lovely, and it's really surprising that they aren't as resentful and bitter than I think they have the full right to be, because with a mother like Ashley, they could have turned out so much worse, but they actually seem like really nice girls, and I just in general feel so bad for them. But just in general, this drama started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. More people were talking about it, and it was actually fueling more people to go and watch Camila's podcast, where they could basically expose themselves to the fact that Ashley is way unbelievably worse than they originally thought, and that of course led to this podcast being created. Yes, when you're in a bad mood, when you're spiteful, and when you're arguing with somebody, you most likely want to do everything you can to win the argument. So what Camila decided to do was to take Ashley's 19-year-old ex-partner, bring them on the podcast, and pretty much just outright expose Ashley in every possible way. Because yes, this is Santos, and he is finally here in long form without Ashley on a live stream to speak about his relationship and expose pretty much everything to do with Ashley Trevino. And yes, it is pretty much as bad as you possibly thought it could be, if not a little bit worse. But I quickly do just want to interject and address something. Yes, halfway through a video, I have swapped to another microphone, and there is a reason for that. I have actually already recorded this video. Yes, days ago, in fact. I recorded this video, but the second half of this video, for some reason, my camera decided to focus on my microphone rather than my beautiful face, and now I'm having to re-record the entire thing and re-listen to this podcast. And I can't lie to you, I don't think I'm going to be as nice as I was the second time, because I am a little bit irritated, but after listening to this podcast forcibly multiple times now, I can confirm to you, I don't really get Santos. He's such a weird guy, and also, one of the main points from this podcast, which a lot of people are pointing out, is what's going on with the mouth? Is he wearing a mouth guard? Is it like when a rugby player's got a mouth guard in? Some people are saying it's veneers, but I don't know. And I'm not saying this is like a belittling thing here, but just watching the podcast and listening to it, it's actually kind of difficult because this guy is like struggling to speak throughout it. And he's not just struggling to speak because of his veneers, but he's struggling to speak because from what I get from it, he's basically speaking about 50% bollocks throughout this entire thing. Now, I do think outright he does expose Ashley Trevino throughout the entire thing, but what I didn't say at the beginning of this video is he also just kind of exposes himself as well. Pretty much Ashley and Santos aren't exactly well, the best of individuals, and this podcast is a perfect highlight of that. Ashley and Santos' behavior from the very beginning has just been incredibly childish, and I guess you can be a bit more lenient towards Santos given the fact that he is 19 years old, but even at 19, I feel like a lot of you guys weren't doing the things that Santos was doing on this podcast. But yes, overall, the listen, for a 50th time now, it was a very hard listen, I can't lie to you. But actually getting into what was spoken about, pretty much the podcast starts off by Santos explaining how his, I was going to say beautiful relationship, but I'm not in a good mood. I'm not in a good mood. Please like this video. How his incredibly creepy relationship started off with Ashley Trevino.
What inspired you to start posting on social media?
I just love serving people. So I started getting into boxes. I don't know if you know too much about the
What's
TikTok world. Basically, you can invite guests.
Oh, like a match, like the boxing, like battles?
Not matches. I was just known to be a big gifter.
I don't want to be rude here, but when people say what inspired you to post on social media, I think of influencers like Markiplier, someone out there that actually produces content. What do any of these people do? Realistically, what do these people do? Even the host, Camila, I'm seeing some of the posts she puts on social media recently, more and more, and I'm like, is this really content creation? What Santos does, is this content creation? Is what Ashley Trevino does? I said it was going to be mean, but realistically, you guys aren't content creators. Well, okay, Camila, I can get it. She's actually made a podcast here. I'll be fair to her. But Santos and Ashley, you guys aren't content creators. You're online e-beggars. But yeah, sorry, I'll continue and let Santos speak and explain his wonderful relationship. Can't wait for that one.
Recently, you've been, popping off. You had the whole Ash Trevino thing. I am really curious, how did that all start? How did you and Ash Trevino become, associated with each other?
To be honest, I just, got a request, from.
So you started doing lives?
Yeah.
You normally do lives with random people?
Yeah.
Okay. So
she was trying to reach out to me, and I was at Shawty Bay's house, and it just stirred up a lot of drama.
Why is he being so awkward, bro? Just speak. I don't know if it's the veneers just taking over his mouth. Sometimes you see an influencer get veneers, and it kind of feels like. Have you seen that video of where the cat is in control of the human? He's walking through New York City, and he's screaming at them. I kind of get that vibe with people that get veneers, of where the veneers just slowly start to take over their mind and control them. Because this isn't the guy that I've seen and covered in multiple videos. This is a really shy and awkward individual, and maybe he was a little bit scared because he was going to get viewed by millions of people, maybe, but honestly, I don't really know why he's scared, and a few of the commenters actually pointed this out, being like, bro, she's asked you a simple question, just answer.
We took off after the, viral pepperoni showing on Twitter.
I don't know what that means. Viral pepperoni showing. Can somebody oh, no, I know what that means. That's when Ashley Trevino got her parts out on a live. Something like that, I think, is what he's referring to here. And either way, I don't even want to think about that point. But yes, this is where their beautiful, wonderful relationship started. Ashley got her out on camera, and it went viral on social media, and just like that, they got married, some freaky Gen Z ex-millennial relationship. It is the saddest representation of social media, that this is how some form of relationship started. But alas, let's continue.
So I know I asked her, and she was like, yeah, it was an accident. What happened? What truly happened in that situation? How did that end up happening?
I was just being the troll I am, know, and I'm a little flirt sometimes. So
I mean, you're really bad at it, mate. You're more socially awkward than me. You're more socially awkward than my subscribers, and I know you guys are incredibly mentally ill. But Santos, my good old buddy, you're not coming off as a flirt right now. You're coming off as somebody that you probably need to go to the dentist, son. You probably need. Look, I'm not trying to be rude. It's not a looks thing. YouTube, please don't strike me down. God, please. But I can't actually understand what this guy is saying because his mouth is muffled by the veneer or mouth guard. Maybe he's got a rugby match in two hours time. Maybe. But either way, I'm worried about you, man. I'm worried about you. But yeah, let's listen to him speak about how he was flirting with Ashley Trevino. God, please kill me now.
Okay, so you were flirting with Ash Trevino.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What, as trolling?
Yeah, I was.
So is that something you normally do? You just flirt with random people in your lives?
Nah, not really like that, but it's just like I improvise from what I just match energies.
Okay. Okay, so you felt she was coming on to you, so you're like, oh, like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that has been widely spoken about on Santos's part, as where he keeps going around being like, oh yeah, my relationship with Ashley Trevino, it was all trolling. It's like, mate, buddy, we've seen your live streams. I don't 100% think this was trolling. We've seen these two interact in a certain way. We've had multiple confirmations that Ashley and Santos have acted incredibly explicitly towards each other, sending each other certain pieces of content on their phones, and also physically getting intimate with each other. We've had a lot of confirmation of that. I mean, there was an entire song about Nunu made up between these two, and Santos being the primary target of that song. I feel like if you're still trying to say this is trolling, you're probably lying to us, buddy. You're probably lying. Now, at first, I don't have doubt in my mind that Santos definitely was trying to use Ashley Trevino to get attention, and maybe he was doing a little bit of trolling. But at the end of the day, it is very clear that something more than a little internet troll developed. A little wee internet troll turned into, oh, Ashley and Santos they're getting their body parts out on camera. Well, it was just Ashley doing that, but he was there to witness it all, as was the entire internet as well, apparently. But either way, Ashley's relationship with Santos made him incredibly popular, and realistically, this is like the only reason this bloke is relevant. Let's not paint over this. I'm not even trying to be mean when I say this, because I just want to speak about the next section, which particularly perked my interest, of where Santos goes on to speak about certain controversies he wishes he could remove from his timeline as an influencer. And you guessed it, buddy. The first thing that he says is pretty much he wishes that he could remove the whole Nunu saga, the whole Ashley Trevino saga. And it's like, that's such an obvious lie. That is the only reason you are relevant. I mean, if this Nunu saga didn't happen, you wouldn't be who you are.
If you could erase one controversy from your past, what would it be?
Oh, the Nunu thing.
Who are you lying to, buddy? Who are you lying to? I mean, actually, no, I was going to say get ready to start flipping burgers, but I don't want to disrespect the good working people of Burger King. I've never been to Burger King in my life. I don't want to disrespect... That's a lie. I have been to Burger King. I don't even know why I said that. I don't want to disrespect the good workers of Five Guys or Shake Shack. Good burgers. Expensive burgers. I know they do good work over there, and I don't want to disrespect them by stating that Santos could do their job, because I don't think Santos could make a cheese and bacon burger. I don't think he could. I don't think he can make those lovely crinkle fries and that little cheesy sauce that Shake Shack do, and those amazing shakes. I don't think he could do that. I don't. So realistically, get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. I don't even know what that means. I'm just referring to that one meme that I always see on social media. But either way, if you didn't have the Nunu and Ashley Trevino saga, you would be absolutely irrelevant. And that's fine. It's like me saying, oh, if I didn't have Shane Dawson back in 2018, I would have been absolutely relevant and not fine. It's like, no, regardless of Shane Dawson and his interactions with certain animals, God rest your soul, Cheeto. But regardless of that, I think that Shane Dawson definitely helped me get relevant, even if Shane isn't, a liked person in 2025 for the most part in terms of the social media community. And Santos, you need to accept, buddy, the reason you're relevant is because of Ashley Trevino. I'm not one to run the Ashley Trevino defense train here, but realistically, she is the only reason he is relevant and all the people in her space are relevant. For good or for bad, by the way. But at the end of the day, they are all relevant, and it's because of this one 34-year-old mother who can't take care of her kids. Thanks for that Apple Watch.
Yeah.
You would go back on that. You would have never had that happen.
100%. Like,
really? I would say it made you pretty viral.
I was, it's not worth it.
Okay.
He says that it's not worth his time, but at the same time, you've just come onto a podcast which now has 3 million views in response to a podcast that got 10 million views. It's like, again, who are you lying to? You love this. This is the reason you're rich and famous now. Stop lying to the audience, because they're not stupid. Most of the comments are pointing out he is just lying throughout this entire thing. And again, there are exposés of Ashley, but at the same time, it's more the exposés just come from the fact that they have interacted with each other in a certain way. It's not from Santos specifically saying much. It's more just the idea and premise of their relationship that exposes Ashley just more and more when you learn about the fact that, yeah, these two clearly had something going on. And that is very weird considering he's 19 and she's like 54. sorry, that's not right. 72.
Do you feel like social media has changed your life for the better or for the worst?
I feel like God, blessed me with something from the social media run, but there's definitely a lot of bad involved.
What would you say is the bad parts of it?
The addiction. Sometimes people get addicted to
The views?
the views. And
Do you ever feel like you get like depressed when your views are down, or you have to do something to make it better? Like, do you always feel like you're chasing a new high?
I feel like I'm chasing a new high. I feel like
All the time?
Yeah.
Now look, to be perfectly fair to Santos here, I can completely relate to what he's saying here. He speaks about, the fact that on social media, it does kind of feel like you're chasing the next high in the sense of you need that next banging viral video, you need those high views, and you will do anything to get those views. And to be honest with you, he is right in what he says here. When I get a 10 in 10 on my YouTube charts, when I see a video as stinking it up, honestly, I kind of feel like it's the end of the world. I'm not even joking. You start to question, am I actually going to have to go and get a real job? Like that, it's the real thing you start to think about when you have one video doing terribly, and then the next one does well, and you're like, oh, I am just a very overly dramatic crybaby. Now, I'm not saying that Santos is that for having these feelings and thoughts here. These are just my personal experience, but I actually think this is a pretty valid thing to speak about, and, I can appreciate when there is actually some vulnerability and innocence shown here, but at the end of the day, I then think about the reasons why Santos and Ashley are so relevant and famous. Massive topics such as them using topics of SA and throwing them around at each other to get views and to be relevant. And based on what he's saying here, I am now only reaffirmed in the belief that they do things like that to just get more relevant and to get more views, and I kind of start to feel less bad because of that. And these are things that they actually go on to speak about later on in the podcast, which we will get into. But firstly, I want to go through the more mild, tame elements of the Santos-Ashley story, and that does go into the topic surrounding Santos's age. Because yes, since the beginning of time of the Ashley Trevino saga, a big topic of discussion has been Santos's age. Is he 18 years old? Is he 19 years old? Is he a 35-year-old bricklayer? Well, in this podcast, Santos actually does provide identification that proves his age. But it's still not without a little bit of controversy.
You claim to have served in the military and sustained an injury, yet at 19, you mention having a few years of active duty. Were you on active duty for more than 6 months? Why were you discharged? In this video here.
I was over there in Brickell for 2 months.
Wait, so what is everybody saying about a fake military ID thing?
Bro, it's a real military ID. The only thing I did was mess with the back part of it so I could keep doing the things I do for work. And
So you were in the military or not?
People are hating. It's not their business if I do whatever the I want. I'm my own grown man. I've been supporting and being independent since I was 51 backwards. So I don't care about anyone's opinion if I do something or not. Y'all don't wipe my ass, and y'all don't clean my floors, and y'all don't take out my trash. So I don't.
And how did people even find out about that? Did you tell them, or they just found out?
No, I don't tell nothing to nobody. I don't even show nothing. I'm actually I'm medically, bro. Chat. Whatever y'all say, I don't care. I don't have to prove it to y'all. I've already shown y'all my medical records. I've already shown y'all my military discharge papers. I've shown y'all everything.
Yeah, what's up with that?
So I did join the military.
At what age?
17.
How old? You can't enlist until you're 18.
I was emancipated, and then I had graduated high school early.
Do you have your GED?
No, I have a high
Do you
school.
have your ID on you?
Now look, I don't know much about the military. I don't know if what he's saying is true here. A lot of people have actually debated this point, saying some people think that Santos is actually telling the truth. Some people think he's not telling the truth. I do believe that lying about being in the military is actually a criminal offense in the United States of America. So, if he's going to be lying about this, he probably wants to delete this podcast or just get it off the internet somehow, because that's a very serious thing to admit to or lie to, and a lot of people have been heavily debating this topic, but I don't know enough to really comment on it, but I didn't really want to ignore it because I know a lot of people have been speaking about it. But yeah, he claims that he is actually 19 years old, and after this, Camila asks, can she see his ID, which is kind of wild considering she didn't do that before the podcast. I feel like when you have anyone on, you should probably ID them. But at the same time, you kind of remember that she's also doing dancing TikToks with Ashley's children at the so-called Bop House, and you kind of start to realize that all these people are just they're just not very good, are they? They're just not good.
Do you have your ID on you?
I do.
Can I see it?
Yeah, it's in my glove.
Oh, in your glove. Oh, okay. Am I allowed to touch the glove?
Yeah.
Oh, is this like a famous glove?
Mm-hmm. It's the glove.
What does that mean? Ew, what does that mean? What do you mean it's the glove? What does that mean? What did you do with it?
Well, sometimes you have to get into like dark places.
What? Just put the ID in the bag, bro. Just show us the ID.
What?
Like the no. I'm playing.
That was really funny, Santos. That was really funny. Jesus Christ.
I'm weak. Okay. It says here you were born on. Oh my God, your birthday's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
March 26, 2005. So it is confirmed here that is Santos' real age.
Oh, God. Jesus. There's something about, like, famous influencers being born in 2005 that genuinely makes me ill. I mean, my audience, you guys are getting old. I know a lot of you guys are getting old. And I feel like a lot of you are probably kind of terrified when you see, like, a famous influencer born in 2005. It makes me feel sick. Honestly, when someone is born before a certain event that took place in 2001 that I'm not going to name for TOS reasons, you know the event. I know I shouldn't be smiling when I reference that event. Terrible type thing happened in 2001. And whenever someone was born to the point of where they weren't alive when that happened, I'm like, okay, we can't be friends. Leave me alone. Don't come back. Block me. Bye-bye. So when I see this, born 4 years after it, gee, it is scary. It is terrifying. And yeah, this all but confirms that Santos is indeed 19 years old, which I say inadvertently, but it does outright expose Ashley Trevino. This is a person in her mid-30s with 2 kids who has had a relationship with Santos. Now, I know a lot of people out there have said, mainly Santos and Ashley, that they haven't actually been in a full-on relationship, but at the end of the day, they've had intimate relations. We've seen how they act on camera together. We've seen that they've met up multiple times in real life. He's been introduced to her children. At this point, that is a relationship, and that took place between a 19-year-old and a creepy 35-year-old TikToker. I should state, though, that obviously is not a crime, but I don't need the US law to tell me what is and what isn't really, really weird. And indeed, their relationship is incredibly creepy, and that has only been further proved by the fact that Santos has proven his age right here. Now, of course, Ashley has rebutted the fact that he is 19 with the statement that apparently Santos has lied about the age, and I imagine they're going to get into that right now.
Do you expect people to believe you about SA, and drug allegations after you've lied about your age for an entire internet career?
Now, there's a lot of muting going on there, but basically she was like, how do you expect people to believe you about the 3 worst possible crimes on planet Earth? These TikTokers are really weird. These TikTokers are odd. I mean, back in my day, when it came to influencers doing bad things, it was Zoella's released a £50 advent calendar. Isn't that really bad? In hindsight, Zoe, I'm sorry. I think we should have been nicer to you, because at least something actually came in the calendar. You know, at least there wasn't any chocky in it, but there was some tat in it, and it was £50 at the end of the day. Wasn't the worst thing on planet Earth. Now we've got influencers like Santos and Ashley Trevino just allegedly doing the worst possible things.
Well, first I came onto the internet just being me, you know.
But not you as a 19-year-old.
No, that was me.
So why did Miss Nunu think you were 24 or 22, whatever age?
Because she started saying that out of nowhere.
So you've never told her that you weren't 19?
I told her straight up from the beginning, because even her own daughters knew my age. They're fans of me. Yeah.
So Miss Nunu lied about knowing that you were 19. She knew the entire time. You've never once told her that you were not 19.
Even her daughters, like, we have that on, you know, clips as well. Like, she knew.
That's really gross.
Yeah, she knew what age I was the whole time.
That's really gross.
Look, the first time recording this, I did actually think what Camila is saying here is absolutely right. But then I go and see those weird posts that she does with her brother, and I'm like, I mean, I don't think you can really talk about gross things. But at the end of the day, yes, the relationship that Santos and Ashley have is incredibly gross. And do I believe Santos here? Do I believe the guy that clearly lies about everything? I don't know. I really don't know, because it is literally like two of the worst people on TikTok lying to each other. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on Santos here, but it's very clear that we have two compulsive liars who do anything for clout lying about each other here, and it's trying to work out who's the worst liar. It's a difficult thing to do, but at the end of the day, I think we can just say to ourselves that Ashley is the responsible adult in the situation, who is the older adult who should have ID'd Santos. I mean, just look at the guy. This is visibly a very young guy. I'd argue he looks younger than me, and I have a baby face. I'm gonna be like 80 going on 19. I swear to God. Look, maybe not 19, but I don't feel like I look my age. I'm 28 years old, and I don't even have a grey hair coming through. And I feel like a lot of YouTubers have grey hairs. It's not even happening for me. I want to look older. I can't grow a beard. I'm just cursed with a baby face the rest of my life. And if Ashley Trevino was dating me, I think she would have to ID. I don't even want to speculate on that. Why did that come into my... Sorry, Ashley. Sorry about that. But yeah, either way, she should have ID'd this bloke, because that is visibly a very, very young guy. And I think Ashley dating him was very, very weird. And as I said earlier, it kind of does just feel like they're both being exposed on this podcast. Santos is being exposed for being a prolific liar. Ashley is being exposed for the same thing, but also for being even more of a creep than we originally thought she was. Overall, the whole thing is just a complete and utter mess. Some people need to buy better veneers. Some people just need to get off TikTok. But then going backwards in the podcast, I want to cover some of the more serious things that Santos is questioned about and that he likes to speak about on this podcast. And starting off, it gets into the point of where Santos makes the claim that Ashley Trevino pretty much has been financially abusing him throughout this entire saga.
So at one point you cared for Shawty Bay and Ash Trevino.
Yeah, Shawty Bay stayed like 1 month in my crib.
For what?
And then she just was kind of going through it with her ex.
Who is?
Which is
What's his name?
Cardi.
Okay, and so where's your relationship with Shawty Bay and Ash Trevino today?
You know, it just the comments they get, like, again, these trolls are a big problem, and with like maintaining relationships and networking the right way, like, so everything's kind of a mess right now. Like,
so where do you stand with Shawty Bay right now?
I mean, I still care about her. Like, you know, I still, like, anything happens to her, like, I'll be there to respond.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And Miss Nunu?
The Christ-like version of me would say, like, I'll forgive somebody. I'm very forgiving.
What are you forgiving her for?
She just did me so dirty, like, with the Airbnbs and everything. Like,
What happened with
abusing me
Airbnb?
She's abusing me for money, and then she was...
Really?
Yeah,
How?
She owes me a... Wait, you said Ms. Nudie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She owes you money.
Yeah.
For what? She
For
said
that,
on live that you willingly would send her money and that you would pay for everything.
Of course, that's what as a manager I was doing.
Now, this gets into a very serious topic in my personal opinion. Financial abuse isn't something to laugh about or to throw around like this regular piece of internet drama. And this again comes into the whole thing of the essay allegations that Ashley and Santos were throwing around about each other like towards the ending of last year. I felt that in that situation, Santos and Ashley were doing an incredibly disgusting thing and using those types of allegations as a way as, oh, this is the new drama of the week. And this kind of feels like that here. Maybe something did take place in this situation, but given how Santos speaks about these types of things, in my opinion, he's not taking this stuff seriously, and if he was, he wouldn't be going on a drama podcast to speak about these things, in my humble opinion. And as we've seen in the past, when he does make serious claims about people, the next minute he's laughing and having fun with the people that he was literally accusing on the same live stream. These people aren't serious, and in every single situation, they just embarrass themselves even further and just do a complete disservice to actual victims of all of the things that they use for TikTok clout. This person did this to me. This person did that to me. How about you turn off the live stream, get off the podcast, and actually go smell some fresh air, touch the grass, and realize your brains have been rotted to like a indescribable level of just pure brain rot.
She owes me a... Wait, you said Ms. Nudie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She owes you money.
Yeah.
For what? She
For
said
that,
on live that you willingly would send her money and that you would pay for everything.
Of course, that's what as a manager I was doing.
Manager?
Yeah, I was managing her and helping her out, like, monetize the right way.
Wait, pause. So you were managing Ash or Miss
I was-
Nunu's career.
not the whole career. Like, you know, that's where people get it wrong. But like, there is
you would push her, like meaning you would go live with her, you would promote her to
I
go
would
further.
get, like, I
you
would
guys
literally-
became a character together. You guys
Yeah.
became.
I invested.
So that was all for clout.
I wouldn't say necessarily clout, but I saw like.
Were you ever truly in a relationship and or had feelings for her
No.
at all? And she
Never.
knew that.
Yeah, we.
It was
we
a
both agree
very.
with that.
She goes on live and cries over you though. Like it was a very emotional thing for her to go
Because
through.
she doesn't have friends. Like all the people around her are my friends.
I mean, realistically, what I'm getting from this, as somebody who's done YouTube for around 8 years now, what I can see here is that these are two individuals that have no experience in the space. One of them got incredibly popular. The other also got popular because of that person's popularity. They had no understanding of how business works. And just in general, the whole thing became a big financial mess of where someone became indescribably rich from social media. The other person probably didn't get as rich. Both of the people are incredibly selfish. They lie about each other for TikTok drama. And just in general, the whole thing became a complete mess. In my opinion, that doesn't constitute the description of financial abuse. And again, I'm not here to defend Ashley on everything, but this to me just kind of feels like they're just throwing things around to get clipped up on TikTok for the latest drama of the week, which is absolutely going to work. I've seen these clips go viral everywhere of people being like, Ashley's done this, Ashley's done that. Hey, Ashley's done a lot of bad things, but I feel like we don't need to lie about what she's possibly done, in my humble opinion. But now after this, we need to move into more serious topics that Santos discussed on this podcast, and that comes down to what I was just speaking about, of where Santos and Ashley have both accused each other of very serious allegations. And yeah, this is what they have to say.
Miss Nunu came out on live the other day and accused you of SA. Actually, you both accused each other. So here's a video.
So basically, she's trying to like, what's it called, like blend in with the girls because they're like.
They're coming out with a lot of allegations, so she's trying to join in.
Yeah, she knew what she was doing. Like she even texted me like sorry and everything, and I called her out right after.
What did you say?
I was like, oh, I did this and that, and then she was like, no, you didn't. I was like, but you just said it on live. Looks back like this girl knows what she's doing, trying to bring me down, and.
So that never happened.
No, I don't.
Have you ever claimed that she SA'd you?
Well, she has tried to do stuff, and I'm like backing her away, like.
What does that mean?
Like she tries to like kiss me and everything, like on the lips. Like I'm fine with like a little kiss on the cheek or whatever on the forehead, but on the lips.
Do you
no.
think Miss Nunu thought you guys were in some sort of relationship, situationship, anything like that?
Nah,
You don't believe that she...
Nah, that's the thing. Like,
Now again, in my opinion, I think there are a lot of serious elements here that really do need to be discussed in a more serious capacity outside of a drama-based podcast. And I'm not equipped with all of the information that they're talking about here. And that mainly comes down to the fact that there have been a lot of allegations made in these situations, with Santos towards Ashley, with Ashley towards Santos, and actually with other TikTokers towards Santos. Because yes, Santos, as was described there, has also faced allegations from other TikTokers in the last few months. Now, I should just say, no criminal proceedings have taken place. Santos has not been charged with anything. He's not been arrested. He's not been sent to jail for these things. But I should just say that, yes, these allegations have definitely taken place, as has Santos's. Now, what Santos actually describes here, in my personal opinion, is actually pretty serious. Making unwanted advances onto somebody like he describes is incredibly weird and wrong, and I think should be called out if that actually is the case. And we have seen Ashley in the past acting incredibly inappropriate on live streams when it seems that other people didn't exactly want those advances.
Too close to my brother, Ash. Too close. Hey, Ash! Why did you move? Fuck you up, Ash. I'm not kidding. Ash! Stop moving. Ash! Stop moving. No!
Are you seeing that, chat?
Okay.
So yeah, I can actually understand maybe why he feels a bit awkward talking about this sort of thing, yet at the same time, it also feels like he's just using a lot of these things for drama. Because you hear how he was speaking about the whole Ashley allegation of where Ashley accused him of something to jump in on other allegations, and then he called her up and spoke about it. They were on good enough terms to speak about these things, and then after the stuff, they also then went on live streams together. In my opinion, a lot of these allegations can't be taken seriously because the people giving the allegations don't take them seriously themselves. How they've been presented at every single angle just kind of feels like they're trying to get clipped up and to go viral again and again and again. And then just refer back to what we heard earlier of Santos saying that he's basically chasing a high every single day when it comes to social media. He wants to go viral more and more and more, and that can lead to people doing a lot of ridiculous things. I'm not defending Ashley or Santos in this situation. In fact, I'm criticizing them for their horrific handling of very serious allegations and situations. I think how they treat these types of things makes an absolute mockery of real victims out there. And I think, honestly, it is quite disgusting how there's been this kind of culture created, in particular on TikTok, where allegations and serious crimes are now just used as drama of, oh, this person did this thing, I can't believe it. And it's like, no, these things are real serious crimes that you're speaking about. Realize that. I feel like TikTokers and podcast hosts like this seriously have had their brain rotted to where they speak about these things like it's just a little bit of drama. As I said earlier, drama 10 years ago used to be so much more insignificant in comparison to what things are now. Now it genuinely feels that every bit of drama on social media is this person did this person did that in terms of criminal actions, when the reality is it's just people trying to go famous in every single angle. I'm not denying that there aren't victims out there, but when you see Ashley Trevino and Santos and how they treat these very serious allegations, it's only going to damage real victims' stories, and it's incredibly frustrating to hear. I realistically don't think that this should even be spoken about on this podcast, because the majority of this podcast is them speaking about memes like Nunu and did you date, did you kiss each other, did you do that, what about this drama and that drama. I don't think that the context of serious crimes should be in the same conversation of memes and TikTok drama. I really don't. And you could say, well, you're covering it here, but I'm only doing that because of what other people have done in this situation that I was covering. I don't want to speak about these serious things, but I'm being forced to by these influencers who throw these things out like it's just nothing. Like throughout this podcast, she's got these question cards that she's using to like ask him questions about fun, quirky things to do with the drama of Santos and Ashley, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But then some questions are just overtly out of nowhere incredibly serious about very, very serious things.
Multiple women recently have come forward accusing you of assault. How do you respond to these serious allegations?
2 seconds later.
They just started like trying to start something. You know, I have screenshots still to this day, like of the group chat saying like, hey, let's push for this, let's get Santos canceled, you know, and you know.
Would you care to share those screenshots?
Yeah, I'll share them out once, you know, everything's confirmed.
All right. It is alleged that you cheated on your baby mama. Is that true?
Now, we need to have a serious conversation about what is going on with TikTokers. This is incredibly dystopian to witness. This is a drama podcast where she is pulling out cue cards, asking him questions about drama, and then suddenly it's being turned into these very serious allegations. In my opinion, if she believes these allegations, Santos should not be on this podcast. Now, I have looked at these allegations. They do seem very, very serious, and that makes me more confused why this podcast even happened in the first place. Because if you're going to have this conversation, surely it should only be about these specific things that are very, very serious. But the next question, literally the next question after this is this.
It is alleged that you cheated on your baby mama. Is that true?
We have gone from serious allegations to, in one question, did you cheat on your baby mama? What is wrong with these TikTokers? You guys are tapped. Your head needs to be studied. I don't think I'm exaggerating here. I really don't. To go from that serious topic to did you cheat? But what makes it even weirder, in my opinion, is as you go further through this, they're just like smiling and joking with each other.
The cougars just like latch onto you.
Yeah,
You're like a cougar magnet.
a werewolf.
And look, I think that's fine. If they want to do that, then do that. But don't have randomly these like tiny little segments where you're popping out serious allegations. Like it's like, oh, what about this little bit of drama? It's like, no, those are serious alleged crimes that you're talking about. And with anyone else, with anyone, those crimes, if ever proven, would send someone to jail for years and years. So start treating these things like actual serious allegations and criminal actions that you're speaking about. I think this whole thing is utterly despicable. From Ashley to Camila to Santos, I just don't agree with any of this. And I'm not trying to seem like I'm like this moral arbiter of truth here, by the way. But I feel like if you've got a normal human functioning brain, you would be disgusted by how they're handling these things. It takes real victim stories and just turns it into a joke. A sick joke that I think that these people need to genuinely be ashamed of themselves for participating in. And look, I will criticize Ashley Trevino a lot, and I will say her actions are bad, but that doesn't mean that I'm just going to come on here and be like, oh, now Santos and Camila, you're also absolutely amazing. No, the further you go into this podcast, the more it makes you realize everyone in this entire saga is just terrible. And I honestly feel a bit weird going any further into this podcast after these very serious things are brought up. So I feel like I just want to kind of get to one last section to go through, and that is when they randomly get back on to speaking about Ashley, where Santos goes on to state that he thinks that Ashley deserves all of the hate that she's receiving. And look, I don't think that she deserves hate. I think she deserves like criticism. And I think criticism is fine, but at the end of the day, Santos, buddy, you deserve criticism too. You deserve as much, in my personal opinion, but obviously he's not getting that, seemingly. If anything, some people seem to think that Santos is like this hero fighting against Ashley Trevino. Don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. He is the exact same, just a little less worse. And even that just comes from an excuse of him being about 15, 16 years younger. Honestly, at this point, I don't even know if I can make that excuse. I've watched this podcast like 5 times now. I don't think I can actually they're just all as bad as each other, aren't they? They just are.
Do you think a lot of the hate that she gets is warranted, like it's deserved, that she brings it upon herself?
Most of it, yes. I feel like.
Do you think it's intentional?
She just needs to be PR trained.
She needs to be PR trained? I'm sorry, buddy. You all need to be PR trained. In fact, I would just appreciate it if all of you deleted your social media accounts. It would actually make my life a lot better. But sadly, I know that's never going to happen. Let's be real here. But to be honest with you, to conclude this podcast, after, recording this video multiple times because my camera sucks, I can say that this listen just gets worse and worse and worse. I think overall the podcast does expose Ashley Trevino even further, but I think it also shows us the real side behind Santos, and just in general how much TikTok is just rotting and destroying people's brains. I think the handling of some serious topics that they've gone through in this podcast is just utterly despicable, and I don't think they should even reference them, in my opinion. If you're going to make this fun, quirky drama show where you ask little quirky questions, just keep the serious stuff out of it, because I don't think any of these people are equipped enough to speak about these things in regards to Santos's or Ashley's story or any of the other people's stories out there. I think overall, this whole thing has just been a complete and utter mess, and I really think if you're watching this right now, you need to consider who you think is the good guy in this situation. I'm not claiming to be the good guy here. I'm just the commentator that speaks over it. I don't personally think there's anyone good in this situation. Maybe just the daughters, but even then I feel weird saying they're a part of this situation. They're not. They are just more victims of Ashley Trevino, who deserves so much better. And just in general, Santos, Ashley, whoever, they are all just despicable. And to be honest with you, the reception of the podcast kind of does reflect that opinion. A lot of people out there were just calling Santos out for what he said on this podcast, and it is really nice to see that. But obviously, you and I know that this didn't end there, because so many other things has developed since this situation. I said at the beginning of this video, this whole thing is a big old mess which just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's the snowball effect. And yes, it only continued after this podcast. And it all starts with Ashley's daughter posting on TikTok, "You're so funny," in quotation marks. "Thank you, my mum is Ashley Trevino, and my whole life is on the internet." Now, immediately this caused a lot of people out there to start criticizing Ashley even further, because naturally a lot of people took some negative connotations from this, of her stating that yes, her entire life is on the internet. And as we saw in a previous podcast with Camila and Ashley Trevino, the kids also commented on the fact that their life is ever on social media, stating that they miss their previous life before social media, because just in general, they were far, far happier and not dealing with as many mental struggles.
I'd rather go back to my old life. Yeah, we have money and I mean, I don't like being online publicly. Like,
And yeah, I understand that.
yeah,
Especially you're so young.
yeah. And growing up, that's why I'm homeschooled too. In the beginning of school, people noticed my mom, and I got like in the cafeteria a lot of stares.
Mhm.
And so, if I could, I honestly would go back to my old life, to being a nobody to people, because that's when I was more confident, didn't care how I looked. And now, since I'm publicly, I've cared more about how I look, how I go out, and stuff.
And to be honest with you, out of everyone in this whole story, I do just feel bad for these kids. I really feel like they just deserve so much better. And yeah, they've got a millionaire mother, but at the end of the day, the mother is barely even there for them. That leads us into the next section, where on the 13th birthday of one of Ashley's daughters, Ashley decided to go to California on the birthday of her daughter, and she obviously received a lot of criticism for this, and of course, she responded where she didn't take any responsibility and where she got very mad at everyone else.
Going to Haley's B-Day but not Evie's. Okay, first off, you need to understand the only reason I have to have Haley a party is because there is something that I agreed on. And it is her sweet 16. Evie's birthday, she already knew for weeks that I wasn't going to come and be here. She had the option to either go with me to LA. We could celebrate it. I had them actually, we're going to get the Beverly Hills Hotel. We were going to decorate the room for her. We were going to take her to Disney. So yes, I had a birthday planned for her in LA.
In another state where none of her friends are and most of her family aren't. Yes, that's everyone's 13-year-old dream, to spend their birthday with pretty much no one other than their mum. Now look, I understand that what she's saying here is, oh, I was going to pay for so many wonderful things, but at the end of the day, could you not just delay your trip? Like by a week? But is that really going to affect the Ashley Trevino empire? Delay the trip by a few days, by a week. You can afford to buy new flight tickets, new hotel tickets. Would it really cost you that much to just allow your kid to have her birthday in her state with her friends and with her family? And again, it is just another sad example of this woman neglecting her kids at every single opportunity. How many times now has Ashley just gone across to the other side of the country and just left her kids? But in this case, it's only a little bit worse because she's doing it on their birthday. I mean, this woman, she just manages to make things worse and worse. It's actually kind of shocking at this point how good she is at making situations just seem even more worse than before. And what's hilarious about this is that Ashley has been on this big interview tour recently. She went on Camila's podcast, and recently she went on this interview, as you can see here, with this individual, and she speaks about some parts of her lives where she's asked questions, and one specific thing that she says at the beginning of the interview is that she pretty much does everything for her children.
The first question is, how do you feel after all that you've done on social media? So the point that you're at right now, like, how do you feel?
Honestly, it feels good, like at this point, like where I'm at.
Yeah.
But only because I know what I'm doing is for not only myself, but for my kids.
And that's why I left them alone on their 13th birthday, so I could go on a little TikTok trip to California. I mean, who are you lying to? Like, everything you post, literally everything you post is on your TikTok page. I just don't get it. She loves to be like, oh yeah, I do everything for my kids. Yeah, you know, I introduce them to prisoners that have committed murder, and you know, I abandon them pretty much every single month so I can go on holiday. I go to Disneyland without them. I leave them on their 13th birthday, and I just do all of these terrible things constantly. And yes, they still do not have beds because I don't even know what the reason is. Why don't they have beds? We went through it at the beginning of this video, but please, Answer that question, Ashley. You can't just come at her and be like, oh yeah, I do everything for my kids and that's why I love social media about what I do. It's like, no, you're lying. You're just outright lying to the world. And yeah, shocker, Ashley Trevino lies, but just to lie so incredibly blatantly, it's just despicable. It really is. She even goes on to say after this, about 1 minute into the video, that she hopes in like 5 years time that her kids can be where she is currently in the world.
In 5 years, you know, I'm hoping that just to be my daughter's biggest cheerleader on the sidelines, and hopefully she's where you're at or where I'm at, and I'm with her going to podcasts.
Why would anyone want to be where you are at? I don't care if you're earning millions of dollars. I've seen your route to fame. Your daughters are on a 10 million viewed podcast where they openly admit they prefer their life before their mother was a millionaire. I don't think anyone wants to be where you are at, Ashley Trevino, especially your kids who openly complain about the fact that their mother is so famous. But after this, Ashley's tour only continued when she went on a lie detector video where she answered a bunch of questions about Santos, about her personal life, and one of the questions that in particular perked my interest was the age question. Because yes, she was asked by the lie detector, did you know about Santos's age? And the answer was a bit interesting.
So, Ash.
Yes.
Did Santos really lie about his age?
Yes.
True. Okay.
Now, there's a lot of questions about the authenticity of lie detectors. Some people argue that they're not really good things to kind of like go off because, you know, your stress levels can just fluctuate and who you are as a human being will let your blood pressure and all that sort of thing. It's kind of hard to get 100% accuracy with these things. But I have actually watched this podcast and there are certain things in this where she is very blatantly lying and it comes out like this.
Did you and Santos like really actually do stuff? Like, did he get down in Nunu?
No.
Now look, yes, that is clearly her lying and it catches her out when she lies, but in the previous clip where she was speaking about has Santos lied about his age previously, she seemed pretty confident and affirmed in what she was saying, so honestly, I am starting to lean further towards the fact that Ashley may have actually not known about his age, but that doesn't really change anything in my opinion. He's clearly a young guy and you should have asked for his age, considering the fact that he has a lot of young friends as well, who are all like 18 and 19-year-old TikTokers. Surely you thought to yourself, maybe the 18 and 19-year-old TikTokers who are hanging out with this one guy that I'm dating, maybe he is also 18 or 19 years old. So yeah, realistically, I don't think this is changing much other than just making Santos look a little bit worse in my personal opinion. But at the end of the day, after everything, it's very difficult to make any of these individuals even worse because it's like there's got to be a barrier at some point, and surely they've peaked at this point, because it does just kind of feel that in every situation with Ashley or Santos, the worst possible resolution is usually the outcome in every single situation. And this has actually got a lot of people out there theorizing about Ashley, theorizing about the fact that is this whole thing even legitimate? Is this whole thing just a big grift? I've seen a lot of TikToks out there of where people have basically just been stating this whole thing is staged. Ashley and everyone else has planned this whole thing to get everyone hooked, get everyone into the drama, and make people invested in their lives so they can earn millions and millions of dollars. Now, to be honest with you, I feel like this is kind of true to some degree. I definitely think a lot of the stuff that we've spoken about absolutely is legitimate and real, but at the end of the day, there is also very clear cases of where they have staged things, faked things, tried to make things look more dramatic than they actually are. But based on what I've seen of Santos and Ashley, I don't actually think these guys are intelligent enough to run this massive operation where everything is fake. I think a lot of things are very much true, but sometimes maybe they play into things here and there. Overall, I think it's like 75% true and 25% false. But at the end of the day, I do think there are people out there that are being swindled a little bit into believing that yes, everything in this situation is 100% real. And that does lead us into the question surrounding the donators of Ashley Trevino, because a lot of people out there have been wondering, who even are the people that give Ashley the millions that she brags about and spends on the new Gucci products and everything that she buys? Well, meet one of them here.
Right now, the insurance company doesn't want to cover it, but they're dumb because it's $1 million for a month, but they're paying $10 million for a year to keep me on this medication that has so far. I'm proud of you. I love you, honestly. I'm not going to lie. I'm very proud of you.
Charlie with the freaking lion! Charlie with the castle! Charlie with another freaking lion! That's a really cute gif. That one is really cute. Charlene! Oh, Charlene is going crazy, you guys. She's going crazy. Thank you so much, Charlene. Every freaking pee, Charlene, you guys. She just in a freaking dragon.
So yeah, as you just saw, someone who is currently being treated for cancer is apparently one of Ashley Trevino's biggest donators, despite not being able to afford to pay for all of their care. Now, obviously, I hope they have a speedy recovery. I truly do, but I just cannot understand why anyone who is going through such a traumatic thing and cannot afford all of the treatments would do this. Why? Why would you give Ashley all of this money? It is so utterly confusing, and it has actually caused people to again speculate, is that real? Is this a thing that Ashley developed behind the scenes, like a part of the storyline that they wrote of, oh, yeah, make everyone angry, get a bit of rage bait out of a cancer patient donating millions to me whilst they can't afford the millions in healthcare? And I just don't understand it, especially when you just look at any recent Ashley update. For example, Ashley recently got divorced from her murderer imprisoned husband, and even despite that, she went on to defend him once again in a live stream.
One thing I'm not gonna do is let somebody, even if I was sober, you're not gonna sit there and pick on my ex-husband. You're not gonna do that. Like I said, I will always go hard for Isaiah, no matter what. He was 15 years old when that happened.
He was 15 years old when he murdered someone. I don't care. I didn't do that at 15. I feel like my audience didn't do that when they were 15. And this is who a supposed cancer patient is giving their thousands of dollars to whilst they can't afford healthcare. I mean, surely it can't be real, right? But sadly, it is. But obviously, crazy things like this cause people to speculate. And I should confirm, yes, these things are legitimately real. But because of all of this, because of all of the craziness, people have just been speculating over, is this one big conspiracy, which is just a storyline written by Ashley Trevino, Santos, and others? Sadly, I don't think that's the case. Maybe it will turn out to be that way, but overall, I just think there are a lot of people out there that don't know how to spend their money correctly, a lot of lonely people, and just in general, if you are thinking about giving your money to Ashley Trevino, please, for the love of God, just give the money to me. But yeah, I feel like we should, come to some sort of conclusion surrounding everything in this big story. So overall, to kind of conclude everything we've gone through today, I feel like this massive saga and storyline with everyone involved in the Ashley Trevino cinematic universe, it almost makes more sense that they're all involved in a massive bit where they just enrage everyone in the name of making money. I would love to believe that, but sadly, I think some people are just stupid. I really do, including everyone who we've criticized in this story, and I feel like there's a little bit of fake stuff mixed in with a load of stupidity, people that don't understand business, and people who 10 years ago would not have been famous. Because realistically, all you need nowadays to go viral is this thing right here. Whereas previously, you needed a camera, a microphone, you needed streaming equipment, and all that sort of stuff. But now, all you need is a phone, the camera, and you can go viral. And what that results in is Santos, Ashley Trevino and everything we are seeing in the 2020s with the TikTokers that we've been speaking about. It's a mess. It's just insane. And I really hope as we go further into this decade, it can get a little bit better. But if I'm being honest with you, I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. To conclude this whole thing, I'm just pretty disgusted with everyone we've spoken about today. It just makes me really, really depressed. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please comment your thoughts down below, and please, most importantly, like this video. Please have some sympathy for me, some sympathy likes for having to re-record the entire thing. Honestly, though, this second recording was a lot better than my first recording, so maybe I'm not that mad anymore. Please follow my podcast, Over the Pond. It is in the description. We've spoken about Ashley Trevino quite a lot on there, and I expect we will in the future. But yes, thank you for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Please go watch my previous Ashley Trevino videos if you're interested in this topic even more. And yeah, bye-bye, everyone. Have a great day.